A familiar lane, some will know. I'm at Haywood Oaks. A different site today. Somewhere I've not been in videoed before. But this is Haywood Oaks. And one of the newer plantations, Haywood Oaks. And I've just come just to look for some fungi. And after the recent rain of the past week, there are now masses of fungi. It's almost like when you get rain in the deserts and then a few weeks later the desert's a blaze of colour with flowers that have arose. And just walking through this little bit of a plantation, it is literally almost carpeted with fungi. Now the fungi you can see here, I'm not going to attempt to name most of what you see, and if you don't like fungi this probably won't be the video for you. And we might find some inverts as well as we walk around, but this I believe is the same fungi, but I think these brown ones are older. I'm not sure, although the cap is slightly different on this one compared to that one. That one's smoother. But that appears to be the commonest here at the moment. But I'll show you another nice colourful fungi, which is here in quite good numbers. And I'm pretty sure that this colourful yellowy orange fungi is the false chanterelle. And there's quite a lot of this just in this bit of a clearing. It's a nice colourful fungi, and I'm not sure whether I've actually seen this species before, but it is quite common here. Here's probably our commonest harvestman, and it's just one of the smaller ones as well. It's certainly the smaller species that most of you will ever come into contact with. It's found in both rural and urban habitats. You'll almost certainly have this in your garden no matter where you live. And this is Paralygalophus agrestis. So it's a big name for a little harvestman. And this is a species you will find as adult pretty much throughout the year. We've had specimens that have gone right through the winter and been found as adults in January through to March and April. But most do die off during the winter months. So that's quite a nice find. It's normally a species you'll find it in huge numbers in leaf litter, but if you beat the foliage of trees and shrubs, you will invariably beat good numbers of this species from that. Well, I'm going to track down this grass forest track. On the left of you've got the young pine plantation. I think it's Douglas fir actually, that I've just walked through, and on your right it's mature plantation. But this should run down to an area of larch, and that might give us some different species. So we'll have a wander. And of course, this is one of our most familiar fungi. This is the fly agaric. This is a particularly orange one. I do like the details in here because there's almost this sort of ridging effect on the edge. And there's several examples, and this one is doing well to get to this stage, well, without being eaten to bits by slugs. Now, Haywood Oaks is a funny place. Dennis and I used to visit occasionally. Sometimes it would just be to give the dog an exercise on the way home. And it was never ever somewhere where we woke up in the morning, where shall we go today? Let's go to Haywood Oaks. That never happened. I don't know what it is about it. It is very dark, really, and the fact that it's just sort of pine plantations. I'm not even aware of anybody ever having trapped moths here. But I imagine it would have all the usual suspects. I say it's somewhere not explored at all, really. But I'm not going up that bit. I'm going off left of camera. Down here. I'm going to have a wander down there. I think I can see the edge of the wood, and it may well open up. But I'm going to have a wander down there and then work round in a sort of anti-clockwise fashion, I think, and see where I end up. Now then, that might not look the most exciting of objects. A bit of UPVC by the looks of it, and a thin bit just laid on the forest floor here, and I have turned it over. And at first I thought, well, there's nothing under it because it's quite moist. And then I saw a Harvestman, but it's not one you've seen before. This is a goodie and a rare find. And the little find, just so it didn't run off, is under this plastic top. This might not look much to you, but a lot of Harvestman enthusiasts haven't seen this species. And this is Mitostoma chrysomelas. And I believe this is only the 4th time I found it. This is a huge surprise. And that's about as big as they get. If I put my finger next to it, this is much smaller and thinner legged than Paralogalophus agressus, which you saw earlier. I'm quite stunned to find this. So we'll see if we can set it up and get some photographs. It'll take some spotting this, so I'll show you where it is. It's just below the stick. See where this needle comes across? It's sat just below it. So while it's sat still, I'll take some photographs and I'll insert them here. And there it is, in the centre. It's the palps of this, which makes it pretty unique. There it starts to move. Look, in UK, amongst UK Harvestman. It's a very easy one not to see. And if it was on this background when I first found it, and not the underside of the plastic, there is no way I would have found it or even seen it. Slow moving, and it's tucking its way inside there, and there are not many records in Nottinghamshire for this. In fact, Diddus and I have probably contributed most, but this is probably the furthest south it's been recorded in the county. Well, that was a surprise. In fact, you can see the plastic, the UPVC strip. There was a second one actually, which was drier underneath, but it had nothing. And this it just shows you that stuff turns up anywhere. This, well, I wouldn't have looked for specifically to that Harvestman at all. In this, in fact, generally, to be honest, I think most entomologists will avoid a site like this. Young pine plantations that were densely planted. There are very little interest to the coleopterist, to be honest. There are a few moths that can turn up. Probably more moths that are likely here than beetles, to be honest. And so it's little finds like that just make a visit worthwhile. I'm glad that I decided to pop in here now. So I will continue walking the opposite way to where you're looking. And these are mature larches. There's not many areas or stands of mature larch in Nottinghamshire. There may be some towards Annesley Way, but certainly around Sherwood Way, no. And this was the first place that we recorded larch ladybird. Just found, right, we just came along, pulled in the lay-by just at the top here. You might be able to see the cars going past because I'm near the road. Got the beating tray out. There's a low overhanging branch of larch. Getting it a couple of whacks, and out came larch ladybird. And that way, by sampling larches growing along the edge of Budby, between Budby South Forest and Sherwood Forest Country Park, we added larch ladybird, if I remember right, to the Sherwood Forest list. Don't think it's been seen since, because nobody's looked for it, and have took some of the larches out. And larch ladybird's quite interesting because larch is quite regularly planted on pit tops or former pit tops. But I have sampled Warsop Main pit top and others that have got larch, younger larch, and I've not found larch ladybird. So whether it's less willing to move into new sites, I don't know. Anyway, at the moment, larch ladybird's quite confined to just several sites in Nottinghamshire, and I think most are between here and Sherwood Forest. And here's a nice find. I think this, I'm fairly confident that this is larch bolete, going by the colour. And if I just pick it, it's got roots on it, and there's your typical underside of bolete with all that sponge-like structure. Boletes don't have the gills like your typical mushrooms do. Now, contrary to the name, Haywood Oaks, this isn't an area of oak woodland. Quite the opposite. Most of it is now pine forestry. Popular with dog walkers. Very handy for towns like Blyth and Reneth for people to come out from. Even from Nottingham, some people would come out here. And this is a busy lane that runs through it. But there are some splendid mature oaks. In fact, there's one just up there, look. The really dark tree in the middle of the screen. But there are some fantastic ancient oaks, really. And they're more near the top of this hill. And we'll probably have a look at those shortly. There's a nice looking fungi. There's a hint of green to this, which might not show up on the camera, but there's definitely, let's see what the gills are like underneath. Oh, there's one. Same colour underneath. But a nice thing. Don't recognise this as a species that I've seen before, or Dennis and I have seen before. So it's something to find out. A bit of research when I get back.